All right, hello everybody. I'm Brian, and this is AAMI News and Conversation. I'm here today with a guest that you probably recognize. It's Garland-Rhea Grisby Sr., and he is a face that you've seen around in sterilization standards, and as one of our co-chairs for the working group that makes ST91. I really want to talk about a new exciting project that Garland's been working on with us. That's going to be reaching a whole new branch of our community. So, Garland, why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Garland-Rhea Grisby Sr. And I am currently interim assistant director for sterile processing at Kaiser Permanente. And I'm
Yeah.
also serving as the endoscope service manager for Kaiser Permanente. Um, and I've been doing that for quite some time. Um, Regarding this particular podcast, in speaking about it in layman's terms, or some folks can understand, this is a podcast for us, by us, right? It's geared towards understanding our struggles, our issues, and how we can get to um, a better place overall and have those discussions.
I want to talk about just the medium of podcasts in particular. Because right, so you started for a couple of years now. You've also been writing for Amy, so I appreciate that. You've been giving me some great content, which is always really good. People can, by the way, find that in our sterilization perspectives pieces. I'll put the link in the description of this video. But outside of that medium, now you're doing the podcast medium. Where's the value in this? How is this going to help you reach different kinds of people?
Well, when we see standards or we see articles, that's all we have, right? We have a
Mhm.
picture of a person and a bunch of words with some references. And that's great. However, when you get to actually see and hear the individuals that may have participated in some of these guidance documents or standards or technical information reports, you get to hear them, um, and you get to hear their enthusiasm, and you
Mm.
get to hear about the hard work that they put into, even being a participant, not even necessarily being a co-chair, but you have a different view, right? And sometimes some folks travel, you're driving to work, driving from work. You don't have time to read, but you can press play and you can listen to the information and you can listen to it over and over again and you can share it. You know, hey, listen to this podcast. This is speaking about water quality. This is speaking about decontamination. This is speaking about equipment planning or whatever it may be. You have the capability of listening even when you're exercising, right? You can still get the information in, just by listening and even viewing.
No, that's fantastic. It actually came to mind immediately when you're talking about that. I'm wondering, do you know if any of the professionals who are working in your own SPD departments are they listening to podcasts while they work?
Yes, they are. I have one of my lead techs. That's all she does is
Oh,
listens to
great.
podcasts. I'm like, "What are you doing?" On her break, she's like, "Oh, I'm listening to this podcast." And then she's sharing podcast. Hey, have you heard this podcast from this person? And I'm like, "Yep." So this is something that folks do.
Oh, for sure. You expecting to get some tips from her as this own project progresses? You're gonna she'll tell you how to refine it as we go.
Yes, yes. So my employees are aware of this podcast,
Good.
and they're excited because I mean, they look at it like, oh my god, you're on a podcast for Amy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just a regular old person, right? Um, all of us are, right? We just
That's right.
do what we feel will benefit our practice and our patients.
But as you mentioned, that value in that sharing that passion or the value in sharing that excitement, that's I can say, okay, you sure, Garland, you're a regular guy, but you're also a passionate guy. And that's what we see in a lot of our standards developers and a lot of our professionals. And you're now sharing that with the community. So I think that's fantastic. And I appreciate you getting on board with this and really starting to share other people's passions as we're also sharing really valuable information. Uh, are there any, topics in the future that you're really excited about working on?
Oh man. I'm looking forward to having discussions about ultrasound probes. Um, because that is seems like that is the topic that many healthcare facilities, both inside of my facility and outside, the topic
Mhm.
of ultrasound probes and
Really?
how to properly process those. So hoping to, talk to some of the manufacturers out there and also the end users to talk about the struggles.
That's interesting to me too, because when I think of ultrasound probes, they seem like such simple devices. So it should be easy to clean, right? But you're shaking your head. I'm saying no, it's not that case.
Right, easier said than done, right? I've always heard. But in episode 1, right, talked to Attila Nazari,
Mm,
and he discussed what goes into IFUs, right? In writing IFUs. The thing
instructions
about
for
it
use.
is
Yeah.
one vendor, even though they say, for example, you have ultrasound probes, one vendor IFU may differ in what they require than the other three uh, major vendors that are out there. And we get stuck from an end user perspective and saying, well, which one makes sense? Because in your facility, you may have all three.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have items or guidance documents like TIR 99, which is great because it's like, here we have something that gives us a baseline of what we need to do. It
Mhm.
helps us to do risk assessments and things like that. But IFUs can get really tricky.
Right, right, because you're switching between manufacturers and products and into that. So that's great to hear, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Before we hop off, Garland, I was curious, where can I find this podcast? How do we follow you?
How do you follow me? Well, you can look up Below the Hospital on Spotify, on Amy Array, um, all of your platforms out there for
Wherever you can get a good podcast, you'll find Below
wherever
the
you can get
Hospital.
a good podcast. Look up Below the Hospital, and you'll find us. If you don't find us, then reach back out to us, and we'll make sure we get on that platform.
Well, you know what? I'm really glad you mentioned reaching out to, because I should ask, are you looking for recommendations on guests? Do you want people to reach out to you and say, "Hey, you should really talk about this, that"?
Absolutely, because that sometimes we can get in our silos and we talk with the people that we know,
Yeah,
but folks that are listening in, you may have someone that has a wealth of knowledge that they need to share or want to share. Yes, please provide that information, folks that you may want us to discuss different topics with, so we can have them on the show.
beautiful. Well, Garland, thank you again for talking to me today about your show. I'm excited to see where this goes, but already it's been really high quality stuff. So keep it up. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.